Morning, welcome back to the channel, welcome back to Love 500 and welcome back to a sort of how-to video. Lots of people have asked me about jacking points on a Fiat 500, so I thought I'd do a quick short video and show you the jacking points that I use. This is not an expert opinion, this is just what the points that I use to jack the car, which isn't the official jacking points, because we all know what happens when cars fall off of those. You end up with very dented sills. So sit back and have a watch, and you know, I'm going to get some comments about you shouldn't be jacking it just there. All I'm telling you is this is where I do it. So sit back and watch and see how to jack a Fiat 500. Okay, so jacking a Fiat 500, first of all we're going to show you on the side. I'm not going to show both sides because obviously each side is the same, but the other way around. So the way I do it, on this car is a sport, so you've got the spoiler on the bottom, so it's not really feasible to jack it on the sill anyway, because chances are you're just going to break your plastic skirting. But if we take a look at a non-sport car, quickly, and then we'll come back to this one and we'll show you on this car. So this is a lounge, so you can see we've got nice sills, nice new sills. Now under here you'll see, get the torch under there, this area here is where you're supposed to jack on. It's a little ridged area that gets damaged. If the jack falls off of there, bang goes your sills. It's too close to the actual edge of the car. So where I jack is on this box section here. It's a nice solid box section. So we'll go back to the other car and I'll show you on there. Okay, so if you've got a trolley jack, which is always the best way of doing it, get the trolley jack under there and then you find the box section, which is just there. Make sure it's in the right place. You can still do this with an ordinary jack as well. It's not quite in the right place, I just move it over a little bit. That's it. That's right in the right place now. So what we'll do is we'll jack it up, and then we'll get the camera under and show you properly. So if you've only got the jack that came with the car, that's fine, you can use that. But obviously it's a lot easier if you've got a trolley jack. But don't worry about it if you haven't. There you go. There is nice and safe on that box section. And of course you've got one of those either side and at the back as well. So that's where I jack it. So on here, like I was showing you in the other car, you see how close that is to the skirt. So you know, if that falls off of there, you're just going to mess your skirt up. So hopefully you won't do that. So doing it on there just takes care of that and will stop any damage occurring like that. Now, if you're working on the car, you don't work it, you know, I'm not climbing under the car now, I've just got my arm under there. Because you don't want to be doing any work on a car when it's not on an axle stand. So if you can see that point there, is the rear bolt on the subframe. That's where I put the jack. Sorry, that's where I put the axle stand, which I'll show you now. Right, so I'm going to jack it a little bit more, which is difficult to do when you're lying on the floor. There you go. So that's now jacked on the bolt. You see that? And that's a nice safe place to put your axle stand. It's not going to fall off of there. So then what we do is we'll let the jack down. And you can let the jack down and it sits quite nicely on that axle stand. Now I've got to take the wheel off of this car, so I'm going to leave it like that for the time being, and then we'll come back to you later on and we'll show you where to jack it on the rear. Okay, now the front of the car is down. This is several days later after I filmed the first bit, but the car's now back down on its four wheels. But to jack it up at the back, again, you've got a box section either side, and as you can see where my jack is placed at the moment, that's where the end of that box section is, and that is the ideal place to jack it, I find. But I will show you an alternative. So let's get underneath and show you that actual point. So there you go, just there. That's the box section there. So you can see it runs along the length of the car. Not sure I'm pointing at it. Runs along the length of the car from the front jacking point to the rear, and that bit there is your ideal place to jack it. So let's get the jack up and then we'll get back underneath and show you. Oh, my jack's not. That's it. Jack it till the wheel's off the ground, or if you want to get a axle stand in there, you can. So let's get back under and show you again with it jacked there. So there you go, there it is, nice and safe on that box section. It's not going to damage that box section at all. See, the other place would be under here, and as you can see, especially on the Sport, there isn't really a jacking point there because you've got the plastic in the way. Same will go for an Abarth. If you look over the other side, if you can see it, I'm not sure whether you can see it, you've got the same point over there as well. So that's by far the best way of jacking it. Now, if you're going to get the back of the car up for whatever reason, if you're going to change the shock absorbers, whatever you're going to do, if you think that you need to get both wheels up in the air at the same time, then your best bet is to jack it up from the rear beam. Now, a lot of people think that that's not the best place to do it, but I see lots of people doing it, not just me, but we'll show you that as well. So we'll let this down and then we'll have another look underneath and we go to the back. But there is a word of warning and some safety to come with that, so we'll cover that in a sec. Okay, so as I was saying, if you want to jack up the back of the car all in one go, obviously you're not going to work on it under a jack. If you was going to be changing the shock absorbers, changing the rear beam, as I've got to do on another car soon, whatever you're doing under the back and you want to get both sides up at the same time, or just for convenience if you want to take both wheels off, the best thing to do is jack it up at the back here in the middle of the rear beam, unless of course you're going to take the rear beam off. However, because you don't work on a jack, you need to get axle stands on that same point that I had it jacked. So you jack it up at the back, get the axle stands under there, and then you can let the jack down and it will be nice and safe. But when you're doing that, especially my car here is on a slope, but whatever ground you're on, don't forget when you've got your handbrake on, your handbrake is held by the back wheels. If you're going to take both back wheels off the floor at the same time, your handbrake's not going to work. So what I've done, I took the handbrake off, I let it roll a bit. Actually, what I did first, I put chocks in front of both wheels. So these are cheap chocks, they're about 7 or 8 quid from eBay, one in front of each wheel, which will stop it rolling forward. What I then do is take the handbrake off, let it roll just onto those chocks, put it into gear and then pull the handbrake back up. That way it's not going to go anywhere. So that's obviously a safety thing, because you don't want the car being up in the air and then it rolling forward and falling off the jack when you're jacking it up. So that's quite important to do. So let's get underneath and have a look. So there you've got the rear beam. and you can see the jack's not quite reaching it at the moment because we've got the pole in the air. So what we need to do is pull the pole down, which will then raise that up. We then lower that down, push it under enough to get to the beam like that, and then get it in the right position like that, and start to lift. Now I'm gonna do it bit by bit, that you get the impression. So we'll come back underneath in a second. So here we go, back jacking both sides at the same time from the rear beam. You're not going to damage the rear beam, and there you go. The car is not rolling forward because it's chocked and in gear, and both wheels are off the ground. So now you go back to those same jacking points that we jacked on originally, get your axle stands underneath, and then you can let the jack down. Let's just show you underneath. So there's a hard bit of steel, you're not going to damage it. You're only temporarily doing it. It's not going to damage it at all. So there you go. So that pretty much covers all the jacking points on the Fiat 500. If you have not got a trolley jack and you've got a cheap jack, even the one that comes with a car, then possibly you can still, depending on whether it's got a flat end or an angled end, you know, depending on what your car is. But if you've got a Sport like this or an Abarth with the spoilers, sorry, not with the spoilers, with the skirts on, you're going to damage your skirts if you try and do it on the proper, in inverted commas, jacking point. So hopefully you can get it under one of those places and get it jacked up. Let me just show you one little accessory that you can buy. So you can buy these things. This is no good for this trolley jack because the pad on this jack is too big. But they sit like that. I suppose I could use it, but they're more for the cheaper, smaller trolley jacks that you can pick up for like £25 on eBay, which are fine for occasional use. I've been using one for many years until I recently bought this one. But see, this pucker's got the grooved bit on it, so that grooved bit will go into the official jacking point and will protect it. Still, it doesn't stop it falling off, but it does make it more secure. And you've got another end there as well for, I don't know what that would go into. Maybe some cars have a round aperture that they could go into as well. But I mean, again, you know, you can pick those up for about £5 on Amazon. So that's it. As I say, jacking one of these cars is quite subjective, and I know when I upload this video I'm going to get lots of people shouting at me saying you shouldn't do it that way, you shouldn't do it this way, and so on and so forth. But that's the way I do it. I'm not telling you that's the right way, I'm telling you that's the way that I do it, and I leave it up to you as to how you do it. But of course, you know, as I say, safety first. Don't jack a car up and work underneath it. Always put an axle stand underneath it. And good practice also, as well as an axle stand, is if you take a wheel off, you put the wheel underneath the car. So should the worst happen, it falls onto the wheel and not onto you. Maybe possibly save your life. But yeah, safety first. Do not work on a car doing anything with it jacked up and you clambering underneath. Just don't do it, because you're going to die. Lots of people have died doing that over the years. Safety first. With all things car related, safety first. I can't say it enough times. Safety first. So that's it. I'm sure there's going to be lots of comments. There's lots of people who are going to tell me I've done it completely wrong. But that's how I do it, as I say. So, as always, thanks for watching. Thanks for your subscriptions. Thanks for your comments. If you're not a regular subscriber, a regular viewer, hit that subscribe button. Help me push those numbers up to the next milestone of 5,000 subscribers. We're getting there. We are getting there. But thanks for watching. Take care, stay safe, and we will see you on the next one.